Hi, and welcome to Word on Wednesday. It's an opportunity to just revisit some of the things we were looking at Gather Worship on Sunday. And through January, our focus, our theme is loving God, loving people. It's the umbrella theme for our whole year, the thing we want to be about as a community of God's people. Loving God, loving people. So the first one was loving God, second one was loving people, and we're back to loving God again. And we engaged in a passage from Luke's Gospel, chapter 7, verses 36 to 50. It's an account of where Jesus accepts an invitation to go to the house of a Pharisee and have a meal. And it's one of these kind of occasions where Jesus does this kind of great reversal. You see, Simon, who's the Pharisee, has all kinds of questions about Jesus, but he ends up facing all kinds of questions about himself. He's very happy to point a finger and accuse another person of being a sinner, but he has the spotlight actually turned on the reality of his own heart. You see, the person he's pointing at is this lady who finds her way in to the party, the meal, and she sits at Jesus' feet, weeping, wetting his feet with her tears, wiping his feet with her hair. She pours perfume on his feet and just kisses his feet constantly. It's a publicly shocking act of devotion and adoration and submission. See, we don't know this woman's name. All we know her by is her reputation. She's a sinner. That's what Simon says. All we know her by is her failure. And yet Jesus kind of responds to her with acceptance and love and honour and forgiveness and peace. It's an incredible thing. And through that account and the story of cancelled debt, this great kind of reversal of things happens. He holds Simon's heart up against the heart of this gate-crashing woman. Where were we going with this? Well, the theme was loving God. And we were asking the question, what is driving our devotion? What drives our expressions of love and adoration and worship to God? And to do that, to answer that question, we began to explore a little bit about the issue of self-righteousness that was displayed in Simon. That was his barrier. He couldn't see clearly because of his self-righteousness. He was happy to point his finger and say that person's a sinner, which obviously meant he didn't think he was. Self-righteousness, it's a barrier. But we also thought about, where Jesus says this lady loves much because she has been forgiven much. And while that's a great passage, it can create a problem for us, especially if we've been around church a long time or grown up in the church maybe. We use the language of being saved, but we're not always quite sure what we've been saved from. See, many of us are good and decent people. We will always be good and decent people. We've never been bad people. And so what exactly is it that we have been saved from? Well, we thought about that in relation to God's holiness and our lack of it. So no matter how good or bad we've been in the sense of our actions, the reality is, of course, we are not holy. We might be good, but we're not holy. We might want to do right things, but we are not holy. There is a gap created by God's holiness and our lack of it. And it's a gap we cannot bridge in and of ourselves. And we began to look and think about how in Christ that is met. You see, one of the wonderful things going on in the passage in Luke 7 is that in Jesus we see the holiness of God and the sin of the world meet. And where they meet in him, this incredible exchange takes place. It comes to its fullness in the cross, of course. Paul reminds us, doesn't he, about how this great exchange takes place. That God makes him who has no sin to be sin for us so that we might be the righteousness of God. It's an incredible insight that Paul has into the wonder and truth that in Christ, the holiness of God and the sin of the world meet. And in the cross, the fullness of that exchange takes place. See, what is it we've been saved from? Well, we have been saved from the outworking of the full holiness of God being brought to bear on our lack of holiness. See, what is driving our devotion? What fires, what energizes our love for him, either in action or attitude? What kind of creates that fire in our bellies through which our worship spills out on a Sunday in gathered worship, or when we're on our own in our own devotions? What fires our praise of God? See, if we don't know what we've been saved from, if we don't know that we have been saved from much, then how will we love much? So what might love for God look like? What might our outpouring of love and adoration and devotion and submission to him look like? How will we express that? Will it be in unashamed, publicly shocking outbursts of adoration and devotion and submission? Or will it be something else? Well, I guess it depends what we think Christ has done for us, doesn't it? See, what drives our love for him? Well, keep working with the question, keep working with the Lord. And I pray that God takes you to a place of deep understanding and release and blessing. So enjoy the rest of your day, and God bless you. Amen.